What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel. My name is Sam. I'm a Charlotte Hornets fan and we're going into another Charlotte Hornets season with some hopes, some expectations, some prayers. We'll see what happens. But in this video, I'm going to go over 5 Charlotte Hornets superlatives, right? Most likely to be an all-star, most likely to be traded, most likely to impress, most likely to disappoint, and most likely to win an individual end-of-year award. And then after that, I'm going to tell you my prediction of where I think the Hornets will finish in the Eastern Conference. But first, before we do anything, I want to get some plugs out the way. I'm really terrible at doing this, so I'm gonna make it a point to do it. So for here on this channel, make sure you subscribe because I'm gonna try to make weekly videos here, which means fewer live streams during games. I will be live streaming the Wednesday, the season debut against the Rockets. That will be live. After that, it'll be hit and miss throughout the season. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that, right? Also, follow me on Twitter for updates at Sam Dracula. And then also, I'm doing a weekly podcast with James Plowright for Charlotte Hornets on SI, on that podcast feed. Link in the description to the audio feed and the YouTube channel. Weekly content every single week from us and from other Hornets podcasters. So go check that out. Go subscribe and like and all that stuff. Let's warm up with an easy one. All right. Who's most likely to be an all-star this season? It's really, you got really 2 candidates, right? LaMelo and Brandon Miller. As much as I would love for Brandon to be at an all-star level already in year 2, pretty unrealistic, right? LaMelo has been an all-star, right? But that was 3 years ago. He's been really hurt every year since. If healthy, LaMelo is without a doubt an all-star level player and deserves to be in that all-star game. Like for no other reason, forget the regular season. Like when we talk about, if you're doing a draft of guys you want to see in an all-star game, LaMelo Ball is a first-round pick in that respect. So LaMelo was voted into the all-star game as a reserve because Kevin Durant was injured. That season, he finished with 20 points a game, 6.7 rebounds a game, 7.6 assists per game. The Hornets were clicking. Things were looking up. Things were looking bright. And then the play-in happened. And then you and I know, you know how things worked out. LaMelo can replicate his previous all-star numbers in his sleep, considering how much he's developed so far and what he's shown through preseason. He looks like he's ready to go, ready to start the season, ready to go. Unlike last year, where he's still coming off of those ankle injuries and took him a while to get going. And then when we saw him get going, he wasn't just an all-star level guy. He was an all NBA level guy before Paolo fell on him. And then it kind of ruined everything. So for him to get back to that level, I think is very, very, very likely. And it's just a matter of his body holding up, which is a question mark going into year 5 for him. I'm not here to pit Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball against each other in any like argument or debate. Like why can't both guys exist as really fun young players? So I'm never gonna do LaMelo versus Brandon Miller anything. All right. But with Brandon Miller, I think his time will come. I don't want to downplay what he did last year or what he could do this year. I think he's going to continue to rise and is hopefully be another focal point in the offense along with LaMelo. And I think we could see some really great things from Brandon Miller going forward this year and in the long term. I think year 3, Brandon Miller is where you could really have that conversation where he's in the all-star talk, because I think he's going to have a really nice sophomore year in the NBA. And then at that point, you're looking at the Hornets having 2 all-stars potentially, and then maybe a lottery pick in between then, and then maybe some free agents, and then the Hornets could really start clicking in the next couple of years. One could hope, though. One could hope. With the easy one out the way, let's get into who's most likely to be traded this season. With preseason behind us and the regular season coming up, the Hornets made their cuts and made their waves, and we know who's on the 15-man roster. And we have 2 of the 3 two-way slots assigned at this point as I'm recording this. So that's why KJ Simpson and Musa Diabate are in italics, because they're on 2 ways. So they're not really part of this conversation. But everybody else is pretty much in play, right? Except, LaMelo and Brandon Miller. These guys aren't getting moved. But we could be talked into everybody else being on the table. You know what I mean? Like if someone calls with this new front office and with this coaching staff, but more so Jeff Peterson in the new front office, he's been hammering home 2 words every press conference when he's been talking about the drafts or trades, about being strategic and opportunistic. And if there is an opportunity to be strategic and to flip Josh Green, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams, Nick Richards, Trey Man, Micic, I think they'll take it. I think they'll take that opportunity. But who's most likely to be traded? Well, in my opinion, is Mr. Vasa Micic. My man, Big Meech. I was excited about the idea of having Micic part of the roster as an older player, a veteran player, that could hopefully add some stability in that second unit, or keep things kind of floating when LaMelo's out or resting or whatever. But this preseason's been brutal for Vasa, bro. Been absolutely brutal, and to the point where I'm like cringing when he gets subbed into the game. And I have concerns, especially coming off of the Olympics. He's played a lot of basketball, and he's an older guy. He's over 30. Unlike Josh Green. Josh Green had to get rested because of his Olympic run. Yeah. And Micic is older and had an Olympic run as well. He didn't get rested. That's weird. But I'm not the coach. Meech, it's been reported, and it makes sense. I don't fault the man for wanting to go to Denver to play with his countrymen and a Western Conference contender with Denver, the Denver Nuggets. I want to play with Jokic. That sounds like a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Micic is under contract this year, obviously, and he has a team option. Yeah, team option for next year. So anyone acquiring him, if they want to get off that $8 million commitment, they can, no problem, right? And all you're doing is adding another guard to your mix. But for the Hornets, if there's value there, right, which even if it's a second-round pick or two, Charlotte's not been shy about acquiring those. And again, I want to reiterate why acquiring second-round picks are so important, at least for Charlotte. Through the trade market, we've seen 3 to 5 second-round picks can get you a really nice player in return, right? It's not one second round is not going to get you a good player, a real rotation guy, but a couple bundled up together can get it done, right? So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is if the Hornets don't make the playoffs this year, they keep their first-round pick, right? But then they owe San Antonio, I believe, 2 second-round picks. So anytime you see the Hornets acquire second-round picks, you could look at it as insurance in case they have to surrender 2 seconds because of that Kai Jones draft night trade from what feels like forever ago in 2021. So let's get Micic out of here, okay? And respectfully, Charlotte's not an Eastern Conference contender, right? They can lose Micic, take picks back, and just roll on, right? It's not gonna really disrupt things, especially considering how the backcourt is looking all right. Like it's the best part of the floor, and it's not even close, right? LaMelo, Josh Green, Trey Man, who's been killing it preseason, right? Cody Martin returning, maybe he contributes. Who knows? You can't really count on him at this stage, right? But if he's there, he's available. He could be the best defender on the team, right? Seth Curry, if healthy, could be the best shooter on the team. Nick Smith Jr., a massive wild card. I love his potential and talent. We didn't get to see much of it in preseason, which is a shame. Not his fault, but things happen. And then KJ Simpson, a guy I liked a lot coming out of college. Maybe he could contribute something here and there as the season goes on. So this Micic, if there's a Micic hole, it's not hard to fill with the talent that's already on the roster. I think Micic is by far the most likely to be traded, in my opinion. Who's most likely to be a disappointment? So in order to be a disappointment, you have to have some level of expectation about your game this season. And so KJ Simpson, Daquan Jeffries, you're off the hook, right? Seth Curry, we got a Curry in Charlotte. I'm never going to be disappointed in the Curry in Charlotte. So you're off the hook. Nick Smith Jr. going to second year, not worried about you. Diabate, two-way guy, not worried about you. Salon rookie, not worried about you. More on you later, by the way, spoilers. Taj Gibson, you're 40 years old. You're calm. I'm not worried about you. Now, we're getting into this group, right? Column B and column C, the starters and the main rotation guys. This area, that part of the rotation is in play for being the most, the largest, the most likely to be a disappointment. The starters and the upper rotation guys are in the conversation. Mark Williams is not exempt from the perils of a big man, right? With a back injury and a foot injury already. He hasn't even started his 3rd year in the league yet, and he's had these types of injuries already. It's not where you want to be. No one's exempt. No one's safe from the big man curse. And how its effect on Mark Williams, we'll see. I have high hopes for him. I do have high expectations of him. I just haven't seen it. And so for me, the question about his durability is unanswered, and the question about his ability is still unanswered, We just haven't seen enough of it. The sample size is too small. I don't do these videos or do podcasts or anything I do around the Hornets and the content stuff I do to be negative. So I don't like living in that space. It's not fun. So let's switch it. Let's flip it. Let's go positive. Who's most likely to overperform? This is fun. And I'm not even going to, I was going to go straight to it. Tajon Salon. All right. I don't care. Forget everybody else. Tajon Salon is my pick to overperform this year. All right. Hands up. I wanted Klingon with that pick. He was right there. They took Salon over him. Not happy about it. It is what it is. I didn't lose an ounce of sleep over it because not that big of a deal, because the expectations for the Hornets this year, you know what I mean? Like, you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? Well, Salon, through preseason alone, has me like, I see the vision now, and I'm on board. I'm on board. I put money on Salon to win Rookie of the Year. I'm here for it. It's a long shot. It's not a lot of money, but you never know what can happen. Salon, his competitiveness, work rate, and shot and confidence has me thinking this guy will be a real rotation guy this year. When they drafted him, my expectation of him was to be basically the 9th, 10th man, spend a lot of time in Greensboro. I don't think that happens. I think when we're like in the meat of the season, Salon is going to be like a part of the 9-man rotation. He's obviously going to make a lot of mistakes. He's a rookie, but I think he's going to be really fun, man. I think he's going to be really fun. I'm really high on Salon. And I get it. I get why the Hornets drafted him 6th. I get why other teams had him in their top 10. Like, it makes sense. The age profile, the size, and again, the confidence and the shooting and the work rate, bro. Like, his effort is nuts. And I hope everyone else takes notice that the 6th pick in the draft is working hard all the time. Like, all the time. I know I said I put some money on Tajon Salon. It was just $5. You never know what could happen, right? So, like, why not? Like, I'll bet on the French boy. I'm here for it. But I think there's a chance. I think there's one Hornet on this team that has a real shot at winning an NBA End of the Year award. Let's go through it. I'm not saying the name of the app because they're not paying me or anything like that, but I will say on this particular app, LaMelo Ball is the only guy to have MVP odds, and it's tragic. Like, plus 50,000. Like, it's him, it's Cade Cunningham, it's James Harden, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, and Julius Randle, Kyrie Irving. Like, that's who he's in the group with for league MVP. My guy Tajon Salon is sitting at plus 4,000 for Rookie of the Year as I record this. You know, we got Zach Edey leading the charge, then Reese Shea, Shepard, Sarr, Castle, Buzelis, Connect, Carrington, Clingan, Ware, Dillingham, Holland, then Salon. That's the list for right now for Rookie of the Year. Not going to be him. Not one Hornet appears on the Defensive Player of the Year odds. Shocker. Most Improved is where it gets interesting. This category sucks. This award sucks. It doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent. So it's a weird one for anyone to predict. But LaMelo stays healthy. Definitely will be in that conversation, right? But the favorite for this right now is Wemby. Like, what the hell is that? Like, it was Wemby, Josh Giddey, Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Williams, Evan Mobley, Paolo. Like, what? It's weird. But I think LaMelo and Brandon Miller, if you want to have a real conversation about Most Improved, could be in that mix. LaMelo staying healthy and Brandon Miller just continue development. Makes sense. But I'm passing on this one because it's just a weird category. Such a weird category. Like, Ja won in 1 year. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is not gambling advice, by the way. Do not do this. Do not do this. Do not do this. I'm not saying do this. I'm just saying the most likely, in my opinion, Hornet to win an NBA end of season award is Trey, 6th man. Trey I. I'm here for it. His preseason has been insane. And I don't know if it's the shorts, the braids, the look, you know, cosplaying as Allen Iverson, whatever it is. I'm here for it. So here for it. Trey's in a contract year, so he has every incentive in the world to put up numbers. And I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity to in the second unit. Micic has been traded, so let's keep that in there. I didn't want to talk about him anymore. But Trey being has the potential to be the offensive focal point in the second unit, right? And Grant Williams would be like the defensive anchor on the other end. I think that'd be their dynamic of the bench going forward. But with Trey getting looks, creating looks for himself, off the dribble, off the catch, driving the lane. I am like more excited about Trey Mann than anybody here. I think there's real potential with Trey Mann this year. Like real potential with him having a great year and being a top scorer on the team. And it feels like we have Malik Monk back. It took 4 years to replace Malik Monk. And he's gone off to bigger and better things. Like, I'm not faulting Malik at all. That the previous organization letting Malik go for nothing is criminal. Still not happy about that. But it worked out for Malik. And maybe work out for Trey Mann. Better late than never. And Vegas doesn't think very highly of him, right? Was Malik, speaking of, is the favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year. Naz Reid, Jaime Jaquez, Dante DiVincenzo, all up there. And our guy, Trey, Sixth Man, is down there with TJ McConnell, Peyton Pritchard, Ahmed Thompson, Cole Anthony, like in that grouping. So again, this is not gambling advice at all. But I put $5 on Trey to win Sixth Man. You never know. You absolutely never know. And I think he'll have the numbers to do it. Will the wins be there to prop him up? Who knows? All that being said, where do I think the Charlotte Hornets will finish in the Eastern Conference this season? Let's go back to Google Sheets. At least 8 teams competing for the top 6. So Boston, New York, Philly, Milwaukee, Orlando, Cleveland, Indiana, Miami, in whatever order, I think we'll be competing for the legit playoff spots, which means there are going to be 2 losers that will be in the play-in, which only leaves 2 play-in spots, right? I think if everything goes right for Charlotte, they're better than Detroit, Washington, Brooklyn, and Toronto. I think the competition for the remaining 2 slots, Chicago, Atlanta, and Charlotte. I'm putting Atlanta in there. That's really because of Trae Young. Honestly, if you have an all-NBA player on your roster, then you're going to get a tiebreaker from me. That leaves Chicago and Charlotte for the remaining spot. I'm going Chicago and I'm going Charlotte like that. This right here is LaMelo staying healthy, Mark Williams staying healthy, Charles Lee being a good coach, which I think he will be. The Hornets are building something. This new ownership group, front office, coaching staff are building, not rebuilding, building. Got Melo, got Brandon Miller under contract, right? They have draft picks, they have capital, they have cap space. They can do things. They're not locked in to where they need to be, which allows them flexibility. They can learn this year, which for me should be the number one objective, to learn. BMW is Ball, Miller, Williams, all right? 12 games, 153 minutes, like really, really poor. When that trio was on the floor together, their offensive rating was 114.9. The rest of the team for the entire year was 108. Right? The net rating, look at the difference. The Charlotte Hornets had the worst net rating in the NBA last year with Ball, Miller, and Williams on the floor. Again, only 12 games, a positive net rating of 5.4, right? Assists up, the pace off the charts. We need to know for sure what that group looks like, BMW, what that looks like, right? What pieces fit best around them? How does Charles Lee operate those guys and get on with those guys? That's the goal for me. For me, if I'm in charge, and as a fan, that's what I want to see, is for the season to end as an 11 seed. Let's pretend Josh Green isn't the best piece for this, or Miles Bridges isn't the best complementary piece to what they're trying to build, right? With BMW plus Tejan Salon or whatever. Like, and take Mark Williams out of it. What if it's just Brandon Miller and LaMelo, and you have Grant Williams at the 5? Maybe that's better. Maybe that smaller look is better than having Williams in that spot. Maybe putting Josh Green on the bench, putting Bridges at the 3, and having Grant Williams at the 4 creates a better look, better complement to Brandon Miller and LaMelo, and maybe Grant Williams at the 4 with Bridges at the 3 is a better fit than Bridges at the 4 and Grant coming off the bench, or Grant at the 5, or having Josh Green come off the bench and play some 2. Like, we don't know. These are things that I think they need to figure out the best configuration around the 2 stars of the team and the complete grouping of the younger guys. Like Trey Mann, maybe he's a guy who becomes a starter at some point, and because he's a better fit with this group. And you have Brandon Miller at the 3, Trey at the 2, and LaMelo at the 1. Like, there's talent on this team. I think they're a bit imbalanced in the perimeter and in the front court compared to the back court, but there's flexibility there, and I think the goal should be to acquire assets whenever they possibly can, i.e. trading Micic if possible, right? Things like that. But also figure out who on this team works best together, because that is who you want to carry with you going forward around your two young stars in LaMelo and Brandon Miller. But let me know down below your thoughts on the Hornets season coming up. My Twitter is at Sam Dracula. You could tweet at me there. I'll be live streaming October 23rd right here on this channel during the Hornets game at the Houston Rockets at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll be talking more Hornets basketball on the Hornets on SI feed. Link in the description. My show with James Plowright, Inside the Hive. So check that out this week. And I think that's all my plugs. So yeah, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.